And welcome to another edition of In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. I'm James Lott Jr. And this is JLJ Media, my online network, over 35 shows, including In Between the Pages. And I'm here giving you another great episode today. We got this movie that is out. 86 Melrose Avenue. It is, I was just telling Terry off screen, it was not the comedy of the summer. It's not like, a feel-good thrill film for the family. It is a serious psychological drama. And these two star in it. So I'm very excited. The first person, I've never met her in person myself. We have the same wall color on our walls. I was a fan of hers on All My Children, and I was so good. She's so good as Detective Garcia in this film, Miss Terri Ivens. Hello, Terry. I love the dark hair.
Oh, thank you.
Now, this guy's my buddy, and I've interviewed him before, of course, when he was on Venice, the series. He is really, really good as Avi in this film. I mean, I'm not even joking. Even I was surprised at some of what he put out there in this series, in this show. I mean, this movie. He's so good. My friend, he's in all kinds of things. My friend, Gregory Zarian. Hi, Gregory.
Hi, nice to see you. Hi, Terry.
Hi.
When was the last time you guys saw each other in person?
Oh, it wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. No, we saw each other.
I was in your house.
You were at my house, and here was what was great about that is we were. The film was nominated for at the Idlewild International Film Festival. Terry was nominated. I was nominated. Dade Elza, who played Travis, the director Lili, and Anastasia, Antonia, who actually won lead actress, and we won outstanding ensemble. So we came over here, and because of COVID, they wanted us to pre-record our acceptances. So everyone came into the house, and we spent a couple hours just catching up and just saying hi and checking in. And it was a lovely afternoon with people that you were held hostage with.
Yes. Now, so Terry, how is it like recording an acceptance speech and you don't know if you won or not yet?
It was so hilarious. I recorded mine, and I'm really kind of bummed that it didn't get any airtime because I didn't win. Because I was actually glamping with my niece, and we were in Death Valley. So we were on the artist drive, the artist palette, that drive. I had her to where there's nobody, there's not a soul in sight. And so we made up this whole thing where she's like searching for me to tell me that I won this award, where she's like, Terri Ivens. And I'm like, what? She's like, oh my God, I found you. So it was so much fun for us to do, and probably a blessing in disguise that I didn't win and the whole world didn't get to see what dorks we are.
Well, that's so funny. And Gregory, for you too, what was that like for you?
It was humbling. And here's what was funny is I wore a shirt and jacket and bow tie and boxer shorts.
Boxers.
Just because, everything is from the waist down. And
That's true.
For the Emmys, I was head to toe in a tux. So I thought, it was super fun. And I got to say thank you to people that voted for us, and people that appreciated the movie and loved our work and loved the storytelling. So it was super fun. And any acknowledgement is a blast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Gregory, you are really turning into this powerhouse actor. I mean, I should say myself. The last few roles you played are so good. It's like this man is stepping into it. You're stepping into it, and you are carving out a niche for yourself. And I say this really sincerely. I mean, you really. I'm watching these roles you're playing. I'm going, wow. I'm like, he is working it out.
Thank you.
So you must be really enjoying acting these days. You got these diverse roles you're getting.
You know what's great about it is it's just all about storytelling. And when you get to work with people like Terry, and like to me, and I think I said this last time when we were together, for me, great acting is a great game of tennis. And, like working with Terry, it's a great game of tennis. Like, okay, Detective Garcia, you're serving. And what is my return going to be? Is it going to be a lob? Is it going to be a backhand, a forehand? And it's this great reaction with somebody that serves a great ball. So I think, and here's one thing that I want to say too is, I think I just quit trying as hard. It's not that I'm not trying, and it's not that I'm doing my thing. I think I've just, as time has gone on, I've settled into me, and I'm great with it. Like, I'm great being me, and I'm great being given these great roles that tell amazing stories, but then also change people's lives. So I think it's a double fold. And I really appreciate your support on that. Thanks.
You have my support completely. Okay, so indulging myself, we're going to talk about the film and all that, but I have an All My Children alum sitting right next to me. So I'm asking a couple of questions. A couple of questions, girl.
Oh, I hope I know the answers.
I played Simone Torres on the show, and I loved her on the show. Fond memories of All My Children. I mean, it went off the air in 2012 or something. It went off the air, but you were on before that. The soap opera pace. I just want to know.
Oh my gosh.
I want to know what your take on that is. People forget that it's really hard work, isn't it?
Oh yeah. Because think about it. We film a commercial and it's for 30 seconds or 15 seconds, and it could take 3 days, right? Your prime time on, your favorite show, nighttime show, is an hour long, and that will take a week. And daytime is an hour long, and that will take 1 day. So and an average character, if you're carrying storyline, you're memorizing 20 pages a day easy. And like the Bible, a day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years is a day. So you could be saying the same thing for the 15th different way. And it really hones your chops. And I've always said that being on a soap is like the best producer school. And you get paid to go because you learn everything top to bottom. You have to know how to find your lighting, especially if you're working with a guy who isn't watching that he's covering your face with shadow, because, we work so fast.
Yes, it's like
you're lucky if you get a second take, So you have to learn how to find your light and how to work the camera. You have to be on your lines. I mean, you get fired just like that if you don't know your lines. I mean, so I'm really thankful. I think it honed my skills to a point, and I think Gregory is tapping into this, where it's my confidence. I know that I can do it. I know that I know the words. I know that I know how to stand there and not freak out. And so it's that confidence that I think that starts to exude when we are stepping into another person's shoes in a character. And, that's kind of a learned thing. You see young actors and you can see them more readily when on a soap, because you can almost see them being scared. They're not even acting. They're just trying to get some words out. And as you grow as an actor, the years of experience, I mean, there are some naturals, but it's, nobody's just born with it. It is a learned skill. It's not like singing where someone just has a great voice. But anyone can really, I believe, learn how to be a great actor. It just takes listening. I don't think it should be called acting. I think it should be called reacting, because you don't really know how you're supposed to respond in real life until you really hear what someone's saying, right? So the best one.
I love that.
Yeah.
James, I don't know if you've ever interviewed Leanne Hunley. She's a dear friend of ours in Terri.
I know her. I've interviewed her, but I know her. I do know her.
Leanne is she's Anna DiMera on Days of Our Lives, and we are amazing friends. But I asked her, I said, how do you do it learning so much all the time? And she said, well, I pay attention to their lines.
Yeah, listen.
He said, I'm familiar with mine. I know what I'm doing, but it's all about my reaction to them. Terri and I were just given a great compliment, because in the movie, there's this great scene where somebody asked us if we were improvising in one of the interrogation moments. And I found that to be a compliment, because when you improvise, there's tons of method. There's Uta Hagen, Meisner, I call it call and respond. When you improvise, you have no idea what the person is going to give you. So for someone to ask me if we improvised something that was so raw, I found it to be a compliment. Absolutely. Because it was so natural for us to be in that moment, telling that story and being confident in the delivery of the words that were written. Because Lili, the writer and director of the movie, was very clear. This is my movie. These are my words. Tell my story. Yeah. And how great, being a fan of Terri Ivens that you are, and I am as well, as she was beautifully created the analogy that great acting is like a great duel, fencing. Yeah. Mine is tennis, hers is fencing. And it's You don't know where this is going to happen, but you have to be on your point, on your toes. You have no idea, but it's about being present. So you either go here or go there. So it's yeah, it's awesome.
I know, that's great. Which actor on the show did you bond with the closest? On All My Children.
Oh, well, Mikey E. Knight, of course, because you always bond with someone you roll around in bed with.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this great story. It was the first time I ever worked with him. It was something called Fan February. Do you remember that? Where everyone wrote in to see what they want, what story they wanted. And everyone wrote in a different person that they wanted Tad to be in bed with, which, all the other guys, Walt Willie was really upset about it. Like, who wants to be in bed with him? Right. But everybody, so they wrote this great episode where every time Tad opens his hotel door, because he's getting ready to get married to Erica, right? There's another girl. And I got to be one of the girls because they wrote in saying, we want to see Tad with Simone. I was such a fan of his. And it was the first time that I took it upon myself. So we were doing the scene. I started jumping on the bed, which of course they loved because I was in lingerie. And I'm like, I'm in bed with Tad, right? And that solidified our romance throughout because we always are going to make it funny, finding ways to make, a bed scene different. And so forever and a day, he will always be my favorite bed partner.
And he's on General Hospital right now. He's a legend.
Of course.
A legend. And speaking of people who are legends, we're bringing in Lili Mata, of course. We'll bring her in, who's the producer, director, writer of this wonderful film. Let's bring her in. So glad she is here.
Yay.
Hello, Miss Lili. We see you coming in. So she's the reason why we're all here. We're talking about this right now. She is the reason. And here she comes. This is technology, folks. We love technology.
We do, right?
That's how that works. But yeah, this film, A6 Melrose Avenue, is very, very, very touching. And I will say, Dade Elias is how you pronounce his name. This plays Travis. What an actor.
Okay.
What an actor. Oh my goodness. I mean, seriously, I can't even think of enough adjectives to describe his performance in this film.
What was amazing about Dade is I auditioned with Dade, and I also auditioned with Stassi, and Lili had known Dade, and I remember being in the waiting room with Stassi, and Lili was like, you guys come in. And we had our scenes, we had memorized our audition, and balls to the wall. We were fearless in that room to the point of I was on the floor holding Stassi thinking, I don't want to die. And we walked out of that audition going, there's something here. Wow. And yes, you have no idea, but there's something here. And the fact that we ended up, all three of us, getting hired because of that audition changed our lives. Because to me, it's one of the most intense pieces of work I've ever been part of.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing is intense. I mean, it's like it doesn't let up. I mean, when they go back in time and show people's past and how it all. The word I wrote down, because I have my notes. The word I wrote down was connect the dots. Those are the words I thought this film. Everything was. It wasn't as simple. It seemed like it's gonna be a simple hostage thing. He's the bad guy. You guys are in danger. Blah blah blah. No. That's not it at all. It's not at all. And they show his trouble past, but each of you guys have trouble past too. Detective Garcia, they're trying, and the other detectives are trying to be the ones on the outside trying to get in. I mean, it's just like and even after. I mean, I don't give too much of the film away without giving some people to see this, but even later with the interrogation scenes and how each of the hostages respond, their responses. I was like, that's so smart. I'll ask Lili about that, of course, when she comes on. But it's like I've never seen anything like that before. It was a very different type of story.
I think the editing that was spectacular is because, especially in the original script, my character was throughout the whole thing, and what Lili had told me was that it was giving the story away if you already have a detective in the beginning. She didn't. right? So she cut it different. And when I saw what, I was like, that was genius, because it really drove the story. Because like you said, you're piecing it together, like, what? Oh my gosh, like what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, whoa, right? Then it starts really building. It's like that train. Dun, dun, dun,
Oh no,
dun.
seriously. I mean, it didn't let up. I mean, that's the thing, is that the tension was so high. And I was watching here on my giant IMAX sitting here, and I was like, I need a drink. I was like, this is good. I need where's the wine? I mean, it was like, because my heart was up here, and I was the whole time watching it. And I have to say that there's this one scene. I'm trying to say, I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but it's this one scene between Avi and Travis that's very pivotal towards the end of the film, so to speak. That was amazing, first of all. And I was just thinking, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? There's the folks outside. There's something in here, and it's getting more intense. And the gun is here, and I'm just like, what's going to happen? And at first, you don't know what happens, kind of, and then you find out.
Right.
So it's like that. The way that was cut, the way that was edited, the way that the story was told was very interesting. Also,
you know what was lovely about that was, and I've said this before, what I found the storytelling of this movie to be so genius is, you have 10 actors. We're hired, we are hired in this art gallery, and here's your script and here's your pages, go. And outside of soap operas, because soap operas shot in order, mostly, and TV shows and films, everything is shot out of chronological order. We're doing Tuesday here, Thursday there, you're in bed here, you're doing that. But what was so genius for, I want to say all of us, was the hostage situation was shot in chronological order. So here we are as art guests at an art gallery exhibit, looking at these beautiful pieces of art, and you are enjoying the work. You're saying, mincing, mingling, doing whatever, and next thing you know, you are in this situation with a possible active shooter. And every moment that we are living through this, the audience is on that ride with us. It is palpable. And to actually remind myself living through it, it was one of the most intense things I've ever been part of, because it was shot in order. And for Terri and Jim O'Heir to come in and do what they did with these people that had been held at gunpoint for a week,
right,
and still be as strong and pivotal and tell so much of the story. Hats off to them as actors. And what beautiful directing by Lili. It seriously is some of the best directing I've ever been part of, because it's in order.
Filming it in order was genius for that too. Can you imagine trying to match continuity? It would have made the movie look fake, trying to, right? If you did it, oh, it's more convenient because we only have this actor for 2 days, so we have to shoot him out, right? But being able to do it in that order, everything had continuity. Everything there wasn't, when you're watching, you never were like, oh, that's off, right? And that always takes me out of a movie. Even big blockbusters, sometimes they have those things, and you're like, ugh. But Lili was genius by shooting it that way. Long and hard for everyone, I know, but it really added to the production value, in my opinion.
Yes. Lili, are you there?
Hi guys, yes. I'm sorry my video is acting up, but my audio, can you hear me?
We can totally hear you, but I wish we could see you.
I'm not sure why I had to restart it 3 times, but the video keeps blurring for some reason. And
it does.
Yes, but I think the sound is working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so it'll be like you're calling in, I guess. We're like you're calling into the show.
Bonjour, ça va?
Hi, first, James, thank you so much for hosting us tonight.
It's my pleasure, Lili.
We are
you did an amazing job. You did an amazing job. And I like that it was set in it wasn't a cookie cutter hostage thriller. And that you were telling a very personal story with personal stories within the story. Loved it.
Thank you.
It was very good.
I could have never made it without my fabulous cast. Honestly, they were the ones that actually brought that story to life. It's one thing writing it on paper. It's another thing having an amazing cast live the moment and be able to relay that to everyone else, to audiences, and live it themselves.
Yes. I mean, I know for you, because you wrote this, to actually have them say your words and live what your truths are in this story, it must feel like a natural high, doesn't it? Must feel
Well,
good.
I think we all have traumas in our lives, events that shape the way it shapes our present. It shapes the way we react to any given situation today, whether with a certain situation and with one another. It affects our relationships with ourselves and with the others.
Yes, it's very, as I said earlier to them, it was a connect the dots thing. Everything is connected. Everything we do, who we do it with, who is in our lives, it's all connected. And I think people need to realize that more, that what I do affects Gregory, you know, he may not know it, what Gregory does affects Terri, whether she knows or not, what Terri does affects Lil, and I guess everything we do affects everybody, right?
Well, everything is a chain reaction.
Right.
There's cause and effect.
That's true.
So it's you know, if you go left, what would have happened if you went right? And what I love that you said though, Lili, is about, you know, we all suffer from PTSD. And what I'm really proud of is the conversation that we are going to be part of, talking about PTSD, mental illness, and, you know, taking off the lid of the shame behind it and really opening up to, we've all survived a global car crash called COVID-19. We are here to talk about it. I believe each and every one of us has suffered from PTSD from it. We're living our lives and then boom, don't go outside, wear a mask. We don't know if, you know, if you wash your hands, if you do this, and our life stopped. Something happened to each and every one of us during that. So we are all suffering from what has happened through that. The beautiful thing is, how did you change? What did you learn? What did you do differently? Whose life did you impact? What questions did you ask? You know, because of this movie, I've done lots of research on PTSD, you know, and veterans. You know, my heart went out when I did research. Over 30% of all the veterans from Vietnam, you know, 11 to 20% of veterans now. Mental illness, over 1 in 7 adults are suffering from mental illness now due to everything that has happened in the world. As storytellers, we are giving these great platforms to then take it a step further and see what the national and global impact is from the stories that we are part of.
Yeah. Lili, I want to ask you about the character of Travis. Data Liza did an amazing job. He deserves whatever acting awards he gets, he deserves them. Or any nominations, whatever he gets, he deserves all of them. How do you describe Travis?
You know, Travis is somebody who has come back from the war with the invisible scars that nobody usually sees, but they are the most profound wounds that our veterans come with. And he's not the bad guy. He is also a victim like all the others. He's a victim of a society that has used them and disposed of them. Our veterans come back with a lot of profound wounds, which is PTSD. And they are not taken care of when they come back from combat, whether they were deployed overseas in Iraq, Afghanistan, or in other areas within the States or all over the world. They come back, we use them, and we kind of dispose of them. So he is also a person that has been damaged and wounded profoundly by the war. And here he comes, and he is a victim of a society that has chosen not to address his wounds that are not visible to the eyes. So everybody in the story is a victim in his own way. And, you know, I just want to go back to something Gregory said, a wonderful point about COVID. COVID has instilled the same thing that the movie talks about, the fear of the other. Be careful, somebody has it, they're going to give it to you. We're all in masks. We used to love talking to one another across the street. Now we see somebody, we cross the street to the other side. We are instilling and reinforcing the fear of the other. To go back to the film, which addresses diversity, there's always the antagonizing fear of somebody who is different, whether socially, culturally, you know, somebody with a different look, accent, physical aspect, somebody who's not like us. And I think the COVID also brought a lot of self-isolation to to all of us, and also has taught us to be wary of the other and suspicious, because this is a disease that somebody else might bring to you and might kill you. So there's also that element of distrust.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Anastasia Antonia plays Nadia, amazing, also another amazing one. And it was interesting that in the film, as you go along, she related to Travis.
Right.
And I walked away with her feeling she related to him because of what she went through.
Right.
And it was very, she was telling the detectives like how they were trying to get her against Avi and like some things are going on in the film. But she understood what was going on because of her own traumatic life. It was in Lebanon, I believe. Was that right? I was speaking correctly?
Yes. And
Yes,
there's a line in the film, she tells him, if you can look into yourself and see the person you once were and hold on to that person, then you can find peace.
Love that line.
Yeah.
That's a line for everybody. It's a line for everyone, period. I love that line. But it was interesting you had her really connect in there. Like she really was like, I get this. Great actress. Just another one who deserves whatever accolades she gets. She's very good. I want to ask you, Terri, how you describe Detective Garcia? How you describe the character in this film?
That's interesting, especially now. It seems the whole issue of police and police officers, and it's so it's almost impossible to have an opinion, because no matter what you say, you're going to offend someone on some side. So to portray this detective, I look at her now, it's kind of an out of body experience. I don't see myself. I'm really watching her and what's going on in her mind. And, does she have a heart? Is there anything going,
Right.
I'm really self-removed now when I watch it. And I think that has so much to do about what is happening around us in our culture today.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That's interesting. You look back on it almost like, okay, now I can look at this character, I portrayed it, but now I can see it separately and go, okay, this is what it looks like. Because she was doggedly trying to, on the case and trying to help figure this out.
She was doing her job. But then, here I am judging this character on today's values, right? Of like, she could have been a lot nicer, right? She could have, right?
Yes.
And I think we make a mistake by doing that in our daily life now. When we turn on the TV and we see something having to do with a police officer, we immediately have our triggers through whatever experience we've lived through or whatever we're projecting, or, whatever it is that may be. So it's interesting. I really enjoyed being able to jump into those authoritative shoes. It was definitely different for me. I'm used to being more of the, girl next door, or,
girlfriend, a friend, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yes. So I was very, and I know Gregory probably feels the same way. Whenever we can enter into exploring a whole new side and perspective of human life through another set of eyes, it's so rewarding. I think that's the most rewarding part about being an actor, is that we just become more aware. And for me, it allows me to have compassions where maybe a year ago I didn't have them.
I like that. And Gregory, I'm sorry.
No, I just hats off to you two, bringing where we are in the world right now, the police conversation, and just saying what you said at the very end about, being more aware of where we are in the world. I just, I love that. It was beautiful.
Avi's a very interesting character too. And it's funny because, there's a scene towards the end that's very interesting also, that I kind of like, oh, okay. How do you describe Avi?
Avi is a child. Avi is a child of parents from the old country. I'm a child of immigrants. So, Avi's father had this dream, as you are going to live your life like this. My father had a dream that you were going to live your life like that. Avi didn't do what dad wanted. I didn't do what my dad wanted. And I don't want to call it rebellion, but I want to say about Avi, Avi and I are very similar in the fact that I am my child's son. I mean, I am my parents' son. I am cut from their cloth. I am brought up with their stories, their history, and their legacies, and I am proud. And it is a privilege and a pleasure to be their child. I also didn't go on the path that they wanted. Same thing with Avi. You know, Avi, when Lili and I talked about Avi years ago, I just found him, you know, Avi has a little bit of money. Avi is a nice looking man. Avi, there's all this preconception as to who
he dresses nice, he looks nice. You know, he
dresses nice, he looks nice, he has the great glasses.
Yes, yes.
You know, he's suave and charming and smooth. What I respect about Lili's storytelling is with Avi and all of us in that art gallery is all of this had to be broken down to go beyond it. You know, we all live with this persona, and what happens when the glass breaks, and what happens when you have 2 seconds to make a new decision. You know, you were talking about Stasi, you know, her character's Lebanese. My character's Israeli. You know, that is culture clash in its finest. They are enemy countries. What do you do if you are in a do or die situation, laying next to somebody or standing next to somebody and you don't like their culture? Do you fight for them, or do you say, good luck, Godspeed, you're on your own? So I think it's a lot of everything with Avi. It's culture, it's race, it's am I man enough? Am I not man enough? Do I, don't I? You know, there's the scene that you brought up earlier. I think it's more than just Avi. I think it's about Dad. I think it's about, you know, we all want to make our parents proud. So it's those moments that, like, and I don't want to give anything away, but
it's hard not to.
No, but as I'm speaking about it, you know, it's interesting as I'm speaking about it, I just got touched because you were so complimentary about my work in this in the beginning, and we as actors just want to tell great stories. And when my dad didn't really get the acting thing, and when he died, I had a great guest star on The Mentalist, and he was in the hospital, and he said, "That's my boy. I'm proud of him." And we just want to make our parents proud, you know. And this role, this movie, this film is probably one of the most things I'm very proud of, because it's something that I've never done. It's something that Lili said, here, tell my story. And it has opened up the world to so much conversation. And hopefully it's opened it up more to compassion, asking more questions, and just saying, even in a simple way, hey, how are you today? Because sometimes you actually get the answer, you know, I'm not having a good day. Why? And then somebody opens up and you make that difference, that when they got home, their life was a little bit better. We all are going through something every second of every day. So if this movie makes people go, I've got to do this, I've got to change that, I need to call so-and-so, I could do this, do that, and it opens up the conversation to doing life differently, we've done a great job as people.
Yeah,
and performers.
That's very true. That's right. Beautifully said. We do. I always say I carry my ancestry on my shoulders all the time. Whatever I do, we just kind of do that. Like, they're with me. I want to make sure I'm representing them okay. That I'm kind of doing, you know, my grandmother, you know, cleaned toilets so that I didn't have to. Like, you know, we carry that with us. When you come from family of, you know, strong immigrant families, you do come from that. You remember that. You know, you can't help it. I mean, I'm sure you agree too, Terri. It's one of those things you just kind of feel it. You know,
yeah.
Walking through life.
Yeah, I did an episode of this show called Birds of Paradise that filmed in Hawaii, and I was playing like a local, right? And if anyone's been to Hawaii, everyone makes fun of the locals because they have pidgin English. Well, yes. You know, I have practically related to the entire islands, you know, and my mom was the oldest of 8 children, and she was, you know, I mean, seriously, I cannot date anyone from Hawaii because I was probably, you know, related. But to my point, to make my family proud. So I had all this dialogue, and it said in a pidgin, you know, pidgin English, and I don't know how to speak pidgin even today. So
I
I called up
do.
one of my cousins and I said, can you say these lines for me so I can just mimic how you say it, right? And they had so much fun. My cousins had so much fun. So then I got the job and I was there, and finally it comes out, and my cousins send me this big card with all of their signatures on it, and it says, to the actors with the worst pidgin accent ever, we're so proud of you, right? So in essence, I embarrassed my entire family because I didn't sound like I was supposed to sound.
But they loved you, but they loved you anyway.
Well, I made them a part of it. They thought that they were on the show too.
That's a cute story. I love that. So Lili, so where did this story come from originally for you that you want to tell it?
Well, I wanted to tell a story that had people from different walks of life. I've always been interested in relationships and interconnection, and I wanted to, talk about things that we can all relate to. It was several ideas that came together. First of all, being interested in relationships and interaction. And at the same time, I wanted to explore disconnection. I feel in today's very fast-paced and high-tech world, I feel that we have become somewhat desensitized and disconnected. I just noticed that we don't talk to one another anymore. We talk at one another. We don't listen. And that brings back what Gregory said earlier, communication. If we can just learn to be interested in somebody else. How are you? How was your day? Be able to talk to someone. I also wanted, to highlight, of course, a variety of current issues that are prevalent today, such as gun violence and PTSD and the insidiousness of mental illness. And, this idea started brewing in my head. And I thought the best setup, I was at an art gallery actually one day, and it was interesting. It was the easiest setup because anybody can walk in there, no cover charge, neighbors, art critics, patrons. It's just anybody who probably is an amateur of art, and just get a free drink and some appetizer and look at the photography. And once when I walked in there with a friend of mine, we started just chit-chatting with total strangers we never knew. And we learned so much about one another. And I thought that would be the best setup, where all of a sudden people from different walks of life meet there, and their lives intersect on a fateful night. So the idea started brewing.
I bet. Actually, I like that you were actually in an art gallery. Like you actually were in an art gallery. And it's true. I've gone to many art gallery openings and had the wine and cheese or whatever. And it wasn't really there for the art. I was like, oh, it's got the wine. And I didn't look at the art while I was there. But no, I did a few of those. I love that. But I do love art now. It's like I'm older. But I want to ask you, whose art was on the walls?
So some of them, the photographs about Lebanon, I had taken them.
Wow.
And, years ago, some of them 4 or 5 years ago, others 10, 15 years ago. And the others, a few others of them were pictures taken in Paris by my co-producer, Alexandre Wilson. And so it's easier to put pictures we have taken photographs versus, getting photographs and getting clearance and so on. So we decided to just frame them, blow them up and frame them. That way we knew.
I have an interesting addition to that. One of the photos that was on the wall was a Paris photo, and it was of Penny Marshall sit with a bike having a picnic. Well, she's family friends of ours. Well, God rest her soul. We love her to death. But it was so wonderful because after when we were done and they were clearing out the set, and somebody, I don't know, all of a sudden there was the pile of the pictures, and Langston Fishburne and I were going through them, and someone said, oh, you can have one of those if you like. And I'm like, no, that's my friend. Like, that's Penny Marshall. Like, do you know you had Penny Marshall on your wall? And so I took a picture of it and I sent it to my dad, and they were like, oh my gosh, that meant so much. And then they gave me the photo, and I gave it, And so, long story short, awesome. That photo is actually now hanging in the producer of Taxi and his wife, because they were like best friends with Penny, and they just loved it because she was so young. So here, this big circle inside this entertainment world. Now that photo is hanging in a home of someone that just loves this lady. So you know how you never know how things are going to go around the world and how we touch someone. And if Langston didn't say, oh, look at these pictures, I would have never gone, oh my gosh, you know?
That is great. That is a picture that Sam Painter, the production designer's father, had taken. And he allowed us to put the picture. We had 2 pictures that Sam Painter's father had taken. So he said, you can post this because I took the picture.
Yeah.
That's how we got it.
That's
Yeah, that's Penny Marshall.
Exactly.
It's a great trivia question.
That's why I asked Sam,
That's
can we put it? I asked Sam, are you sure can we put it? He said, my father took it. He said, yes. I said, good. That was wonderful. Yes. It's funny how things come together on set, you know, little things. And, you know, talking about diversity, because this film talks a lot about diversity, we were over 10 nationalities on set between cast and crew. Nobody was chosen just because they were African-American or Lebanese or Colombian or Israeli or French, but because of their talent. And ironically enough, it was the most diverse set. We had 11 nationalities.
The crew is diverse.
Exactly, cast and crew, 11 nationalities.
Well, you know, Lili, I always say this. I say diversity should just be normal, and you should be open to everyone for reading roles, everyone for portraying roles, everyone for being crew, everyone for being, you know, it should just be regular, because like you're right, because a lot of times you hire talent and you're open to the universe, diversity will happen. It's about opportunity, you know, we're all here, we all know about that. I mean, it's all about opportunity, and it's just like, do you give the opportunity to a person of Lebanese descent, or a person of Israeli descent, or a person of Spanish descent? Like you said, it depends on, do you give the opportunity? If you don't give the opportunity, then it doesn't happen. So I love that you were like, it wasn't like this huge conscious, like we got to do this, but it happens. You were open to it, to tell your story, and the diversity happened. That's the best. To me, that's the best way.
It's about inclusion, absolutely. And I didn't hire anybody who was Lebanese except myself. So I didn't want to hire somebody because I'm Lebanese to be from Lebanon or Lebanese descent. But I wanted to work with people who were amazing. And funny enough, when you have an open heart and an open mind, and you include everybody else, then all of a sudden there's no more barriers like, oh, she's Black, oh, she's white, oh, she's Lebanese, he's Middle Eastern. It's about us working together. And you learn that every one of us is from somewhere, and every one of us has a story.
And can I say one thing on top of that is, when you are working on a set and you are part of the crew and you have so much downtime in between things, that's when you ask questions. That's when you get to know the people that you're working with. It's when you get, hey, you know, and it's when you just share your stories. You become close to the people that you spend 17, 18 hours a day with, and then put that into weeks, months, and however long. And it didn't even matter what color, shape, or size you were just working with someone that happened to be a different crayon in the crayon box. That's what that's about.
You know what, Gregory, is so true, because I've done a few acting jobs here. And I'm not claiming to be an actor or anything, but I've done a few jobs here and there. You guys are way more talented than I am. I'm just a piece of somebody who's done a few things. And I remember being on a set, and I had a great time with the craft services people. I mean, number one, I like eating, but I heard there's, because a lot of times people at home, you don't know this. A lot of times just hurry up and wait. You know, they're resetting lights and scenes, and there's times in between. And I remember just having this great conversation it was a mother and daughter who started this craft. I mean, I learned everything about them. I learned this whole thing about them. And you're right. And that makes the world go round. I mean, it's kind of, and what you find out also, and I'm sure all three of you will agree with this, it's a lot of sameness that we are, more than difference. I think the media and everything puts all these differences out there. We're different, you're different, you're different. But in many ways, we're all got the same. You each mentioned a father story or a mother story. I'm sure we all have the same 1, 2, or 3 of them in there, no matter what race you are. A mother's a mother, a father's a father, a cousin's a cousin. Like, you kind of like, there's a lot of sameness. And that's why this movie is good, because it's showing these people from different nationalities relating to the hostage taker. I mean, relating to his story. I mean, I think that's the thing. We're the same in many ways.
Absolutely, we are all, as individual, as a community, and citizens of the same world. I feel, you know, it's diversity. Again, people are scared of differences. I think we are all different, and yet it's our differences that make us so unique and interesting. And it's not something to be scared of. It's something to embrace. It's so interesting, you know, to learn more about somebody who is different. It doesn't mean he's weird or he's wrong. There's no such a thing. It's just that it's so interesting. Diversity is something amazing that we can share with one another and learn from one another.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. This film, 86 Melrose Avenue. So can people find it? Like, just talk about where they can actually find out about this film. It's so good. I want everybody to see it. So how can that happen?
Well, it releases in the States on April 20th through Gravitas, and then it releases internationally shortly after through Glass House Distribution. So it first comes on VOD, Comcast, Spectrum, AT&T, DirecTV, Cox, Dish, Verizon, Frontier, Mediacom. There's a whole list of them. iTunes, Prime Video, Vudu, Google Play, YouTube, PlayStation, Fandango, Vimeo, Amazon.
Yes.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Call that across all platforms. That's what we
Everywhere.
call that.
Everywhere, people. Everywhere. I love that.
The way it works, because I spoke with Gravitas, the way it works, the first 90 days, it has to go on VOD with every distribution. So I asked them, why this one and not this? They say, okay, first of all, VOD is always the first, it's always theatrical, but now theatrical is almost paralyzed.
Yeah.
Though film, theaters have been open, I heard that the capacity is not over 10 to 15%. It's been
like 20%, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the second step after theatrical is always VOD. So 90 to 120 days, and then after the first 60 days, I think when it's on VOD, they start doing deals with, let's say, Hulu or Amazon or Netflix. They can't be concurrently on all of them, so it has to be one of them. So the first 90 days have to be VOD, 90 to 120 days, I think, minimum of 90 days. And then they do deals with other streaming, depending which deal is the best deal that the distributors chooses.
Okay, guys. So I'll put it in the description that April 20th. Look for it. If you have Spectrum, DirecTV, I have DirecTV, or whatever. I'm gonna promote this. Make sure this gets out to everybody.
I can text Gregory and he can send it to you. There's a list, and I think I texted it to Terry and Gregory. I can text it to both again. There's at least 20 VOD platforms it's gonna be on currently on April 20th. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna text it or email it again to you guys. And Gregory, you can send it if you want to James.
Yes, pass it to me. Oh, baby, little baby.
Can I just introduce you to Byron?
Hi, Byron. What a name. Hi, Byron. Oh, you're a cutie pie. Look at those paws.
He's adorable.
Those paws are so big.
He's 12 weeks.
Oh,
okay, he's a big boy.
He's cute.
He's the sweetest thing. And
Look
this
up.
is, oh my God, James, this is his TV debut.
Well, welcome. I knew you when. I knew you when now. So if you get famous and popular, you're on my show first. That's why I love Cutie Pie. I love Baby Angel. He's so cute. I want to thank you guys for coming on. This is, you know, I'm glad Gregory got in touch with me because this film was very, very good. You should all feel proud. And every actor, crew member, editing, everything it's good. It's good, guys. It's really good. So thank you.
James, thank you for having us, and thank you for being here. Really, really appreciate it. Love you very much.
Thank you. I love you very much.
Thank you so much for having us and for talking about 86 Melrose Avenue. And I think it's a film that people should see because it's about all of us. There's a little piece of everyone in that film.
I agree. I totally agree. And Lili, where can they follow you on, like online or social media or anything? Can they follow you anywhere?
I am terrible with social network, and I have been told on and on that I, pardon me, suck at it, which I admit. So I am on Facebook as Lili Mata, and I think on Instagram as Mata Lili. This is, yeah, I think so.
I love it. And Miss Terri Ivens.
The one and only.
Well, you know, my family name is Dying. Ivens we have no boys, so I can get Terri Ivens on everything. So it's at Terri Ivens, one word, all lowercase, you name it, I'm there.
I love it. And Mr. Gregory Zarian. At
Gregory Zarian.
Yes, exactly.
And what is James, so we can follow you?
Yes, I will follow. I'm going to follow Terri and follow you, Lili. I met James Lott Jr. everywhere, so I made it very simple too. But Gregory and I follow each other and everything already. But I'm going to follow you, Terri, of course, and you, Lili, of course. I'm going to follow you guys. This film was so great, you guys. I say quality entertainment. You support the arts, support the arts, support the independent arts, support the independent arts. They are as good as the huge blockbusters and sometimes even better. So support folks who are out there making things happen for themselves and for others. I support that. It's one of my causes. We are a village, and we are a village of content creators and actors and writers, musicians and artists, and it needs to be protected. It's just as important as breathing and having water and politics and law. Art is important, and that includes film and cinema. I'm James Lott Jr. Follow me. We're all James Lott Jr.'s are sold at James Lott Jr. on all social media platforms. And JLJ Media is my online network. We're celebrating a year in business in June. I'm planning on something really big. I started this venture during COVID, and it's doing better than I thought because of people like you who actually watch my programs. And I get to get guests like you guys that come on